Today is December 7th, 2023, and it's nice weather today. Tomorrow it's supposed to snow, and I want to pour brass into all three of these conch shells today. I'm not supposed to snow again tomorrow, so nice weather. I will be carving a vent hole out of this end. Lessons learned from last time, and these will be Christmas presents if they turn out. So let's see how that goes. Okay, I've cut a slot at the bottom, or what's going to be the bottom, of each of these shells, in the hopes that when the brass comes in at this end, it'll vent the air out through the bottom and not make a bubble like it did on my first attempt. So that's where I'm at. Let's see what happens next. Okay, this is the first one, as prepped as I can get it. Basically took a pop can, wrapped it around the opening, taped it in place only to prevent the sand from going into the shell, and then I realize the aluminum might melt, but so be it. Hopefully this is going to work. I'll start with the brass fittings, and it's actually filled up with a lot of the first bits and pieces from the first pour I tried, or my first conch shell. And so let's fire it up. Okay, it should be ready. Hope it doesn't freeze in the crucible. Okay, the second one is actually ready already. This brass didn't take near as long to melt. So here goes number two. Well, not number two, but the second one. That's going to take some cleanup. That didn't take near as much brass. I might pour that Christmas tree if I have enough brass. I just bought that cast iron mold. Wasn't quite right temperature. Okay, it's starting to rain. It's supposed to snow today, but before that happens, I want to take these conch shell castings out of the buckets that I poured them in. Okay, so this is the first one. That's got some weight to it. Get a hammer. Seems to work. Gonna have to filter all these shell pieces out later. Boy, that shell is pretty thick in some spots. That's okay. The vinegar will completely dissolve all of that away. You know, cut all of that stuff off. Okay, that's one. Okay, and this is the second one I poured. That's the one that had a lot of splattering going on. That one seemed to work too. Interesting color there, probably from the aluminum that it was cast against. Soak this in vinegar to find out where the actual shell part started, but that's two. And this is the third one. Different on the end. It didn't quite make it, I guess. This is the brass that wasn't quite hot enough, it seemed. So maybe it froze before it got to the end. Yep. Still, they all seem to work. So now it's just a matter of them all into a vat of vinegar and dissolving all that shell away. Thought I saw some more brass in there. Pointy parts all over it. Okay. Well, I'm glad that video made it to the end, and now I'm switching to a different storage component on the phone. This has some really gnarly bits and pieces on it. This is the third one. Don't know why, but that's the way that one ended up. That's the third one. This was the second one. It's got some gnarly bits on it too. Trim most of this off. I'll have to grind it away until I get to the shell part of it. But that was the second one I cast. And oh, this is the heavy one. This is the third one. First one I cast. And in all cases, it didn't quite make it to the end, so I'm not sure if it just froze on the way down or if it didn't vent properly, but I thought I made some good vents in it. But we'll see. This has to be vinegared and cleaned up and see what happens from there. Okay, it is starting to rain and it's supposed to snow today, so I'm gonna have to stop there and put these in a container with vinegar. Okay, on to the next ones. Or not next ones. On to the next. On to the next phase of the project. Oh, I can't carry 3 of those at a time. Okay, welcome back. These have been soaking for a week and a couple of days, and every few days I've been taking them out of the vinegar and basically picking at any of the remaining shell in the edges. Seems to be almost all gone. Not much to pick away on this one. And after I get all of the shell picked out of the crevices, I will be grinding all of this excess brass off to get at the surfaces I want to be able to show. Okay. It's interesting that this green shows up in the air above the vinegar and in this unusual copper colored line. Probably because there's copper in brass. But anyway, there's nothing more to pick out of this one. Oh, a little bit there. And as I poke a hole in my skin. Okay, that one's ready for grinding. Another one. So again, this has been soaking for, I think it's a week and 2 days. Every day or so, every day or two, I've been removing any of the loose or dissolved. There's some that's still in there. Loose and dissolved shell. Oh, no, that was just sediment sitting there. Well, these definitely have cleaned up really nice. Okay, time to grind that off. I'll rinse all of these in water before I get at the grinding. This is the heavy one. This one's hard to hold on a continuous basis. Anyway, this one's a lot darker. This was made from different brass than the other two. This one might end up being a little bit more bronzy when it's done than just brass. There's, you can see the shell coming out there. I sure hope the other two are on video. I'm not looking through the camera when I'm doing this. Well, seems to have worked out. The weather's nice today, so I really want to get outside and grind all of this excess brass off. And then after I'm finished grinding it, I'll be polishing it with a brass brush, or polishing it, cleaning it up actually, like I did with the first one with the eyeball in it. Okay. Oh, that's hard to hold. Guess that's it. Time to take them outside and grind them. And in here is basically all of the silt that has been dissolving off of the shells. There's a lot in there. It's hard to get it all into a corner. Yeah, it just keeps floating away into the... I'll transfer this into a container and then get the silt out of it. Okay, enough. Okay, so this is where we're at. These have been cleaned and, or in vinegar they've been cleaned, rinsed in water, just grinding. That's 3. This is 2. Going to be a lot of removal on that one. And the heavy one is number 1. This one seemed to have cracked the shell a lot more than the other 2. Anyway, that's where we're at. Okay, this is the completion of the conch shells. These are all Christmas presents. I need to wrap them up and get them ready, so, or at least get them wrapped up for the gifts. This is the smallest one. I ground and sanded this to 120 grit and then wire brushed with a brass brush the entire surface. You can still see some of the shell inside the openings or the crevices, but that's as clean as I can get them. So that's the smallest one. The next one, this is the second largest, or the middle one. Again, this was all ground down smooth and then sanded with up to 120 grit. Again, there's still some shell inside the edges, and the whole surface was wire brushed also with this one. So and then the last one, oh, that's the heavy one. It has a bit of a coppery color on the surface, and I think it's because I used a slightly different brass. This was more of a plumbing brass that I used in this one, whereas the other one was more of a ornamental brass and stuff like that. So also, to repeat this one more time, this was all ground smooth and then sanded with 120 grit. You can see some of the details of the shell, which is what I wanted, of course. And that's a very heavy one. I don't know the weights of these. I didn't weigh them yet. But there's one. There's two. And the third one. So time to wrap them up and get them ready to give for presents.